Welcome to The Deep Dive, the show that cracks open the most astonishing theories and lays them bare. Today, we're plunging into a concept so radical, it could redefine life itself. What if everything we thought we knew about evolution, and even our own bodies, was just one piece of a much larger, stranger puzzle?
It's a truly extraordinary premise, one that fundamentally challenges the conventional understanding of what it means to be alive.
And we're talking about
We're talking about the profound idea that humans are not merely the carbon-based life forms we assume ourselves to be, but something far more complex. Homo plasma sapiens.
Homo plasma sapiens. Okay.
This theory proposes that we are, in essence, a hybrid, a kind of chimera.
To chimera.
Yeah, of ordinary matter, the stuff we can see and touch, and something much more mysterious, much more elusive. Dark plasma.
Dark plasma. Wow. Okay, this is definitely a deep dive. And our guide for this journey into the speculative and cutting edge is the truly fascinating work of J. Alfred.
That's right. Particularly his paper, Humans as Hybrid Plasma Carbon Life Forms, and some of his other related publications, too.
So, our mission here is to explore how life might exist in ways we haven't yet considered, stretching beyond what our current senses and instruments can easily detect. We'll unpack how cooperation might be an even more fundamental driver than competition in the grand narrative of evolution.
Which is a huge shift in thinking right there.
Absolutely. And ultimately, what it means for you listening right now to be potentially a plasma carbon chimera.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's embark on this journey and unpack this.
Right.
So when we typically talk about evolution, the image that instantly springs to mind is Darwin's iconic tree of life.
Yeah, that branching diagram.
Exactly. It's this powerful visual of species diversifying over eons, driven primarily by, intense competition for resources, right?
Mhm.
Survival of the fittest.
Natural selection, yeah.
It paints a picture of constant struggle, a relentless climb where success is measured by outcompeting others.
That's certainly the deeply ingrained traditional narrative. And look, it holds a significant truth, obviously. Competition is real. But increasingly, the field of biology is recognizing that this view, while powerful, is, well, it's incomplete. Maybe even potentially misleading in its singular focus.
How so?
Cooperation. It turns out cooperation is proving to be just as vital, if not sometimes more so, for life's incredible diversity, its resilience, its very emergence, actually.
So it's not just dog-eat-dog out there.
Not at all. It's not simply about individuals or species competing. It's profoundly about how they collaborate, merge, and form new interdependent wholes.
And nothing exemplifies this profound shift in understanding better than the concept of endosymbiosis. This isn't just some obscure biological term, is it? It sounds pretty foundational. Can you walk us through what endosymbiosis actually means?
Absolutely. Let's break it down. At its simplest, symbiosis just describes any close long-term ecological relationship between different species where at least one species benefits.
Like clownfish and anemones.
That's a classic example, yeah. The clownfish gets protection, maybe lures food to the anemone. Win-win, sort of. But endosymbiosis is a specialized and, frankly, astounding form of symbiosis where one organism, called the endosymbiont, actually comes to live inside the cells of another, the host organism.
Inside the cells. Not just alongside, but physically inside.
Exactly. It's an intimate internal cohabitation, a merger, really.
And the champion of this idea, the person who really pushed this against the grain, was Lynn Margulis.
Right? She certainly was. Lynn Margulis, a brilliant American evolutionary biologist. She was a tireless and, often controversial champion of the significance of symbiosis in evolution.
It wasn't immediately accepted, her work.
Oh, no. Her groundbreaking work initially met with a lot of skepticism back in the 1960s, fundamentally reshaped our understanding of how complex life multicellular organisms like us came to be.
And the classic example, the one that really hammers this home, involves something inside all of us, right? Mitochondria.
Mitochondria, exactly. Yeah. We all learned about them as the powerhouses of the cell.
Right, making energy, ATP.
Yeah, but the real story, as you say, is much more profound, more ancient, and far more cooperative.
Okay, tell us.
It is. Every single eukaryotic cell, that's any cell that has a true nucleus, like all our human cells, contains these tiny bean-shaped organelles called mitochondria.
Got it.
The startling and now widely accepted belief is that these mitochondria, well, they were once entirely independent, free-living bacterial cells. Prokaryotes.
Bacteria.
Yeah.
Living inside our ancestors' cells.
Billions of years ago, yeah. They either invaded or were perhaps engulfed by early eukaryotic cells.
Oh.
Now, you might expect such an invasion to result in, digestion, the host cell eating the bacterium.
Makes sense. Immune response or just food?
Right. But something truly incredible happened instead. Both cells tolerated each other, found a way to coexist. Over immense spans of time, they began to live together, to literally fuse their
To
destinies.
use their destinies. I like them.
They created powerful synergies that provided immense benefits to both. The host cell gained incredibly efficient energy production.
The powerhouse function.
Right. And the bacterium gained a stable, protective environment. This was a foundational fusion event, a real aha moment for the evolution of all complex life on Earth.
So our earliest ancestors at the cellular level were already hybrid.
Profound hybrids, yes.
Wow. So our own cells, the very building blocks of our bodies, are a living testament to cooperation,
Wow.
a product of these ancient symbiotic mergers.
Yeah.
And it's not just about what's inside our cells either, is it? The principle extends much, much further.
Exactly. The concept scales up dramatically. Every multicellular animal or plant is, by definition, an example of profound cooperation on a grand scale.
Trillions of cells working together.
Billions, even trillions of diverse cells, each with its specialized function, working in concert to form a coherent, functioning organism. It's incredible collaboration.
And then there's the whole microbiome thing.
Exactly. If we zoom out even further to the human body itself, it's not just a collection of our own human cells, it's an incredibly complex, dynamic, cooperative ecosystem.
I've heard the numbers are staggering.
They are. According to compelling 2016 research, a typical adult human body is composed of about 30 trillion human cells. But they live peacefully, or at least symbiotically, with an even greater number, approximately 38 trillion bacteria.
38 trillion. More bacteria than human cells.
That's what the data suggests, yeah. It completely reframes how we think about us, about where our individual boundaries truly lie.
It really does. So this naturally leads to the central question that the author we're exploring, J. Alfred, poses. If human symbiosis extends to such a fundamental, microscopic, and bacterial level, does it perhaps extend even further?
Could there be even deeper, stranger layers of symbiotic existence that we've yet to fully acknowledge? It's a crucial and provocative question.
Because if endosymbiosis means different life forms effectively fuse,
Then the traditional image of life doesn't just branch out like a separate, distinct tree. Imagine a tree where the branches, instead of just growing apart and remaining separate,
they loop back.
they also actively regraft and fuse back together, creating new interconnected pathways, maybe sharing genetic material or other information.
Okay, that changes the picture completely.
It means that Darwin's iconic tree of life, when examined through this lens of symbiosis, isn't really a tree at all. It's something far more intricate, more interconnected.
It's a net.
A net, the Darwin-Margulis's net of life.
And that's our first big takeaway here.
Precisely. This powerful image completely transforms our perception of evolution. It suggests a reality of far more interconnected, far more cooperative, and significantly less linear than we've traditionally imagined.
So it's not just about winning the race.
It's about building an interconnected web where collaboration, not just competition, has been key to our very existence from day one. It flips the script on what survival truly means.
It's mergers, fusions, partnerships.
A continuous process of mergers, fusions, and shared existence, constantly creating new forms of life through intimate partnership.
So what does this all mean for us, personally, for you listening? It means rethinking our place in the web of life, not just as isolated organisms,
Or even just as complex bacterial ecosystems.
but as fundamentally composite, multi-species entities from our very inception. Our past, present, and future are deeply interwoven with others, even others we can't see. Okay, so the Darwin-Margulis's net of life reframes evolution around cooperation and fusion. It makes us rethink our identity. Now, if this cooperation is so fundamental, J. Alfred pushes us even further. What if life could cooperate or fuse, not just across different species of matter, but across fundamentally different types of matter altogether?
Exactly. That's where we move beyond carbon-based life and into the realm of plasma.
Plasma. We're so used to thinking of life as exclusively carbon-based. Water, organic molecules. Is carbon the only game in town?
This is where we step into truly speculative yet empirically grounded territory. Traditionally, when we think of matter, we consider the familiar phases: solids, liquids, gases. But there's a fourth fundamental state of matter, far more prevalent in the universe than the others.
Plasma.
More common than solids, liquids, or gases.
By a huge margin, yes. Plasma is essentially ionized gas, a superheated state where atoms have been stripped of one or more of their electrons, creating a soup of charged particles, free electrons and positive ions.
Where do we find it?
It's the stuff of stars, lightning, the aurora borealis, even fluorescent lights and plasma TVs. And the fascinating idea here is that plasma, under the right conditions, could serve as a fundamental substrate for life.
Life made of plasma, not carbon.
Potentially, especially at high temperatures, where plasma naturally occurs.
That seems almost alien to our carbon-based understanding. It's hard to even wrap our heads around life not needing water or oxygen in the way we typically define it. But you're saying there's actual empirical lab work right here on Earth that gives us a glimpse into this kind of possibility. Yes, there were truly striking laboratory experiments conducted by Russian researchers Ursula Loznianu and Mircea Sandulevichu, physicists from Aikuzi University back in the early 21st century.
What do they find?
What they managed to create in their lab were electrical plasma cells that exhibited astonishing, almost lifelike capabilities. They weren't actually trying to create life, mind you.
But they saw something unexpected.
Profoundly suggestive, yes. These weren't just random energy discharges or fleeting phenomena. They had some truly startling, self-organizing properties.
Self-organizing. How?
These lab-generated plasma cells, through well-known plasma dynamics, demonstrated an ability to spontaneously self-organize. They formed a semi-permeable membrane, what's called a plasma sheath.
Like a cell wall.
Kind of, yeah. It regulated what entered and exited. They even developed a kind of rudimentary nucleus within their structure.
A nucleus made of plasma?
Effectively, yes. And the most striking part, their visual resemblance. They looked very much like eukaryotic cells, maybe like a human blood cell, despite being made purely of plasma and existing at high temperatures.
Wow. That's uncanny.
Sandulevichu himself, reflecting on these results, stated, "The cell-like spheres we describe could be at the origin of other forms of life we have not yet considered."
So he saw the implication immediately.
It directly raises the profound question, could these plasma cells give rise to, or even be, a completely different class of life, plasma life forms?
That's a truly mind-blowing thought. Life forms made entirely of plasma. But if that's the case, and they can self-organize and replicate,
Yeah.
why aren't we seeing them everywhere? Why aren't our instruments picking up on these plasma life forms on Earth's surface today?
That's a critical point, and it highlights the immense challenge of ordinary plasma life surviving on Earth's current surface.
Ordinary plasma, you mean the kind they made in the lab?
Yes, the kind made of the particles and forces we know from the Standard Model. While it's plausible that ordinary plasma life forms were present in the gas and materials that formed Earth 4.6 billion years ago, maybe even appearing a billion years before carbon-based life.
A billion years earlier. Wow.
Potentially. And primitive ordinary plasma life forms may have thrived in the early molten Earth, as Loznianu and Sandulevichu imagined, but the situation today is vastly different.
So early Earth could have been a hotbed for them, a cosmic nursery for plasma beings.
Potentially, yes. The early Earth was much hotter, more volatile, maybe more conducive to ionized states. But the Earth's surface now is what the author vividly describes as a weakly ionized rocky surface of a cold and dense ordinary Earth.
Not exactly plasma-friendly.
Incredibly hostile to ordinary plasma. For one, natural plasma dissipates almost instantly here, unless it's confined by very strong physical boundaries or powerful magnetic fields.
Why does it dissipate so fast?
In our dense atmosphere, with its high particle density, strong electric charge interactions between particles, and relatively low temperature, the charged particles in ordinary plasma rapidly recombine to form neutral atoms. They simply can't maintain their ionized state for long.
Like trying to keep steam in a sieve.
Good analogy. It just doesn't hold together.
But the Earth has a strong magnetic field, doesn't it? And we have the plasmasphere up high. Couldn't that protect them?
It does, and our planet's magnetosphere traps charged particles, creating regions like the plasmasphere. However, this plasmasphere peters out to almost nothing at lower altitudes.
So it doesn't reach down here where we live.
Not in any significant density or stability to support life. And these low-energy mists of particles, as they are sometimes described, are incredibly fragile. They can be destroyed by powerful forces like nuclear blasts, large bombs, even something as simple as a vacuum pump.
Vacuum pump.
Yeah, it removes the particles they need to sustain themselves. Furthermore, an ordinary plasma life form would constantly emit a wide spectrum of electromagnetic frequencies, radio waves, light, everything.
So they'd be really obvious, easy to detect.
Very easy to detect with our existing technology. Yet none have been detected on Earth's surface today.
What about below the surface? Does the rising temperature deep within the Earth help?
It's a good thought. It's true that below the surface, temperatures rise, which would certainly allow for some ionization. However, pressure also increases dramatically with depth.
And pressure's bad for plasma.
Well, it's complicated. Plasma could theoretically form at extreme pressures, like in neutron stars. But the pressure levels deep within the Earth are vastly lower than neutron stars, yet still much, much higher than the surface. At these specific pressure levels, it's believed the extreme pressure would make it largely uninhabitable for ordinary plasma life forms to form and sustain themselves as discrete entities.
So nowhere hospitable for ordinary plasma life, basically. Surface, subsurface. Our current Earth just isn't the place.
For ordinary plasma life forms, the conditions are simply not conducive to sustaining them in any significant, detectable way. Okay, so building on this idea of plasma as a substrate for life, we need to address a specific hypothesis that came up earlier, proposed by Russian scientists, including Ilyushin and Sedlak back in the 70s.
Right, the bioplasma idea.
Exactly. They suggested that living organisms, including humans, contain a form of plasma, which they termed bioplasma, made of ions, free electrons, free protons, much like regular plasma.
An internal plasma body within us. That sounds, well, it sounds like it taps into a lot of historical and mystical ideas about a life force or an aura. Where did they think this bioplasma was?
They speculated it was concentrated primarily in the brain and spinal cord, acting as a kind of energetic blueprint or control system.
And where did it come from?
They believed it was produced by our own mitochondria, those ancient bacteria again, and also absorbed from the surrounding environment.
What the evidence was.
Mainly based on indirect evidence, particularly from something called Kirlian photography and a good deal of circumstantial evidence.
Early in photography.
Yeah.
Those pictures of glowing hands and leaves,
Yeah.
I've seen those. They look pretty convincing, like an energy field.
They do look striking, but when that bioplasma idea, which seemed to align so well with popular imagination, faced rigorous scientific scrutiny, the picture changed.
How so? What did the science say?
Well, the Kirlian photography, which was a primary source of their indirect evidence, was critically examined. Results published back in 1976 by Pahak, Kyler, and Faust demonstrated quite definitively that the variations observed in the corona discharged those glowing patterns.
The aura.
Right. They could largely be accounted for by the moisture content and even minute amounts of dirt on and within living tissue.
Moisture, so sweat, basically.
Essentially, yes. And surface contaminants. What looked like an ethereal energy field was often just an artifact of electrical conductivity. Literally how well electricity flows through damp or slightly dirty skin. It really underscores how easy it is to misinterpret data when you're looking for something specific.
Meaning it wasn't evidence of a bioplasma at all, just basic physics acting on the body's surface.
Precisely. And more fundamentally, the bioplasma that Ilyushin and Sedlak proposed was never actually detected, measured, or directly imaged. Not by them, not by anyone else using their methods. It remained an unproven theoretical construct.
So no direct proof. What about the theory itself? Did it hold up from a physics perspective?
That was another major issue. There were significant theoretical implausibilities, as detailed in a critical analysis by Quickenden and Tilbury in 1986.
What did they find? You mentioned things like W lengths and plasma frequencies earlier. Can you break that down?
I'll try. Ilyushin viewed bioplasma as a kind of cold plasma of highly structured collective excitations generated by biological semiconductors, like cell membranes polarizing. Quickenden and Tilbury showed this was most unlikely.
Why unlikely?
Think of Davy length as how far the electrical influence of one charged particle reaches before other charges cancel it out. If it's too short, the particles don't feel each other enough to act like a collective plasma. They found the calculated Davy lengths in biological systems were only marginally acceptable.
Okay, marginal, not great.
Not great. And even more critically, the calculated plasma frequencies, which describe how quickly these charged particles can collectively oscillate together as a unified plasma entity, were not sufficiently high. Meaning the motions of charge carriers wouldn't be governed by electrical and magnetic forces, which is the defining characteristic of true plasma behavior. Instead, their movement would be dominated by basically fluid dynamics and diffusion. Simple particle movement, not collective plasma waves.
So it's like saying, yes, there are charged particles moving around in our bodies, but they aren't behaving like a unified plasma. They're just individual particles floating in the biological soup.
Exactly. They used a helpful analogy. Conventional semiconductors only exhibit true plasma behavior near absolute zero temperature and if they're incredibly pure.
which is the complete opposite of a warm, wet, complex human body.
Diametrically opposed. So, the experimental evidence commonly cited for bioplasma, Kirlian photos, mitogenetic radiation, acupuncture effects, biological fields was, for the most part, convincingly explainable within conventional biological and physical terms. No need to invoke an independent cytoplasma body.
And beyond those theoretical and experimental issues, there's the really basic problem of temperature, right?
Yes, that's paramount and perhaps the simplest, most irrefutable argument against ordinary bioplasma. Ordinary plasma simply cannot exist in substantial volume or density in the human body.
Because it's too hot.
Way too hot. Minimum temperatures for ordinary plasma formation are typically 4,000 to 10,000 Kelvin, that's, thousands of degrees Celsius.
Which would vaporize us instantly.
It would scorch or vaporize biomolecular tissue, as the author puts it. Our body temperature is around 310 Kelvin, 37 Celsius. It's just orders of magnitude different.
What about cold plasma, like the kind used in some medical treatments? Doesn't that work at lower temperatures?
It does, but that kind of plasma is generated by very strong external electromagnetic fields. The electromagnetic fields naturally occurring in the ordinary human body are extremely weak.
Not strong enough to make plasma.
Not nearly strong enough to create and sustain a true, stable plasma state throughout any significant volume of tissue. Plus, the strong electromagnetic forces within ordinary matter itself push charged particles to recombine quickly at our low body temperatures. Plasma just doesn't want to form or stay formed here.
So are you saying there are no charged particles, no electrical activity in the body at all? Because our nerves run on electrical impulses, cells have ion channels.
Not at all. We absolutely have microscopic soups of charged particles within our bodies. Protons, ions like sodium, potassium, calcium, charged biomolecules, they're essential.
So maybe a near plasma.
You could call it a near plasma in a very loose conceptual sense. They are dynamic collections of charged particles. But there's a critical distinction.
What's the distinction?
These soups are generally non-neutral over large spaces, unlike true plasma. Crucially, they are generated primarily by hydrodynamic processes, fluid movement, chemical gradients, pumps, not by collective electromagnetic forces. And they're embedded within biomolecular matter, constrained by it.
So they can't form their own independent structures, like those plasma vortexes you mentioned.
Exactly. They don't collectively constitute an independent, separate bioplasma body capable of forming large vortexes, double layers, or other signature features of true plasma. They're part of the biological machinery, not separate from it.
Okay.
Therefore, the probability of a substantial, free-floating, ordinary bioplasma body existing on Earth's surface, or within us, is considered extremely low by conventional physics.
Yeah.
Which brings us to a crucial pivot in Alfred's theory.
Right. So if ordinary plasma life is pretty much ruled out here, on the surface or inside us, where does that leave the theory? Where do we turn next? This raises an important question. If the universe is so vast and strange, and if plasma can theoretically support life under some conditions, could there be other types of plasma life operating under different rules?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, and if we are to find any plasma life forms on the surface of the Earth that could potentially interact with us, we must turn our gaze towards the dark sectors.
Dark sectors. Okay, this sounds like where things get really weird, but it's a serious concept in physics and cosmology, right? Not just sci-fi.
It absolutely is. The concept of dark sectors arose from astronomical observations that show there's a far more gravity pulling things together in the universe than all the visible matter, stars, gas, dust can account for.
The missing mass problem. Dark matter.
Exactly. Dark matter is part of it, and dark energy driving the universe's expansion is another. Dark sectors are the theoretical frameworks trying to explain this hidden universe. They are thought to play a crucial yet unseen role in how galaxies form and how the universe evolves.
And they're made of different stuff.
They're thought to consist of different types of fundamental particles and forces from our familiar standard model. Most of these dark particles are believed to be electrically neutral, which is why they're so hard to detect directly. They don't interact with light.
But some might have a charge.
A small proportion are hypothesized to hold a weak electric charge. This is generally referred to as self-interacting dark matter. That self-interaction is key.
And how do these dark sectors, this hidden universe, interact with us, with ordinary matter?
On vast cosmic scales, through gravity. That's how we infer their existence, their gravitational pull on galaxies and light. At smaller scales, like here on Earth, they might interact very weakly with ordinary matter.
Weakly enough to be undetectable, mostly.
Extremely difficult, almost impossible to detect directly with current instruments. They remain largely invisible, potentially passing right through us and everything around us without leaving a trace.
Okay, so if these dark sectors exist, and they're composed of different kinds of particles and forces, what makes them potentially more hospitable for plasma life than our ordinary matter environment?
The conditions in these dark sectors are theorized to be quite different, and crucially, they seem to perfectly overcome the fundamental limitations we just discussed for ordinary plasma.
Now, what's different?
First, and this is a game changer, in dark sectors, the electromagnetic charge associated with these dark particles is thought to be considerably weaker than the standard electromagnetic force we experience.
Weaker charge. What does that mean for plasma?
It means that dark electrons and dark protons can easily dislodge to form dark plasmas without requiring those extreme tissue-destroying temperatures that ordinary plasma needs. It's like the particles are less tightly bound.
Okay, so ionization is easier. What else?
Second, the neutral particles within dark sectors are thought to significantly outnumber the charged particles. These neutral particles act like a natural buffer, effectively weakly insulating the soups of charged particles to enable a dark plasma to be sustained.
Like a protective bubble keeping the plasma stable.
Sort of, yeah. It prevents the charged particles from rapidly recombining, which was a major problem for ordinary plasma in our dense, low-temperature environment.
Interesting. So a weaker charge, natural insulation.
Mm.
Well, what about temperature? That was the other big killer for ordinary plasma in the body.
The author conjectures that the temperature in dark sectors is also much higher than in our ordinary matter environment. Possibly very high?
Higher temperature.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that still burn us if it interacted?
But here's the critical point, the real breakthrough. This higher temperature does not burn or scorch biomolecular tissue.
Why not?
Because dark plasma, by definition, does not, or only very weakly, interacts with ordinary matter. Remember, it's part of a separate sector with different forces. So you could theoretically have high temperatures sustaining dark plasma right alongside, or even inside, our ordinary matter bodies without any destructive thermal effects on our physical selves.
Wow. Okay, that's a huge difference. High temperature plasma that doesn't burn ordinary matter.
Exactly. The resulting theoretical structures are described as interpenetrating wholly dark plasmaspheres, essentially, invisible, self-sustaining environments of dark plasma. And these, Alfred argues, are ideal habitats for plasma life forms to thrive over a wide range of depths and heights.
Potentially coexisting intimately with our visible world, intermingled with our reality, yet completely unseen.
That's the proposition. So given this potential for dark plasma life forms within these unseen dark sectors, we now arrive at the core of J. Alfred's hypothesis. It builds on his previous work on dark Earths.
Dark Earths, as in parallel planets.
Kind of. These are theorized dark planets existing within their respective dark sectors, proposed to have co-accreted, basically, formed alongside our visible Earth in the early solar system. This parallel Earth hypothesis suggests hidden counterparts to our own planet.
Existing in the same space, but in a different sector.
Interpenetrating, yes. And this is where the Darwin-Margulis's net of life truly expands beyond anything we previously considered. It extends into these elusive dark sectors, which leads to the profound concept of intersector evolution.
Intersector evolution. So life evolving not just here, but on these dark Earths too, and potentially interacting.
Exactly. Not just symbiosis within our own type of matter, but potentially between completely different types of matter, from different Earths existing in parallel.
That's a truly radical conjecture. It flips our understanding of biological interaction entirely.
It is indeed. And it's driven, the theory suggests, by the same kinds of evolutionary pressures that drive life here. It's conjectured that some intelligent dark plasma life forms from these dark Earths underwent what the author calls voluntary and opportunistic endosymbiosis.
Voluntary symbiosis. Not like the mitochondria being engulfed, but a conscious choice.
That's the implication for intelligent plasma life, yes. And this wasn't merely with other plasma life forms in their dark biosphere. Crucially, and this is the key to our identity, it was with life forms in our visible biosphere. Ordinary matter life. Like us.
How would that even happen? Why would intelligent dark plasma life forms choose to interact with us? And when?
The logic suggests it would most often occur with life forms in the adjacent lowest energy dark Earth. Think of it like neighbors. These dark plasma life forms would likely inhabit regions in their dark biosphere that are physically closest in terms of both distance and energy levels to the surface of our Earth.
Proximity makes interaction more likely.
Right. And the author posits that these intelligent dark plasma life forms would have formed these endosymbiotic relationships with humans early in our evolutionary history. Alfred published on this specific idea back in 2008, so it's a developed concept.
Early humans becoming
Ashi.
hybridized with dark plasma beings.
That's the core idea, leading to this plasma-carbon symbiotic life forms hypothesis. It postulates a mutualistic relationship.
Mutualism, so both benefit.
Yes. Between this specific kind of bioplasma, and just to clarify, Alfred here means the dark plasma, the intelligent life form from the dark sector, not the disproven ordinary bioplasma concept, and our carbon-based bodies. Both species receive clear advantages.
And there are supposed coupling forces holding them together.
Plasma metaphysics, which explores these ideas, hypothesizes coupling forces between the carbon-based body and an invisible superstructure of bioplasma bodies, the dark plasma symbiont that keep them linked.
Linked
Until either body dies. These unseen forces are theorized to be powerful enough to sustain this connection throughout the life of the host, a profound, sustained, almost intimate connection.
That's a powerful idea. An invisible partner, sustained by unseen forces. But how does this fusion, this endosymbiosis, actually occur with a human? When does it begin?
It's believed to begin very early in human development, even before birth, in a fascinating multi-step process. Step 1. The foundational presence.
Okay.
Even before any direct fusion with an intelligent, dark plasma life form, the human fetus in the womb is already interpenetrated by many layers of dark matter particles.
Dark matter itself, not necessarily plasma life yet.
Correct. Layers of dark matter particles at varying energy levels, creating a kind of preliminary unseen scaffolding around the developing embryo.
Why would dark matter collect around us?
This is due to a conjectured fifth force, a hypothetical fundamental force beyond the known four, that is theorized to specifically attract dark matter particles to ordinary matter objects, forming these enveloping layers.
So our very earliest cells and the developing fetus are already composite structures carrying these dark matter envelopes, even without the intelligent plasma partner.
Yes, though potentially with a slight evolutionary shift from the very early Earth. Alfred also mentions the dark panspermia idea.
Life arriving from space, but dark life.
Potentially. Suggesting that in the early Earth, living hybrid cells, part ordinary, part dark matter, were introduced. These might have included a dark plasma cell already coupled with an ordinary matter cell, maybe even some remnant ordinary plasma back then.
But that ordinary plasma faded.
Right. In the later Earth, as it cooled, most ordinary plasma dissipated. So, the evolved human ordinary matter embryo is therefore interpenetrated primarily by a dark plasma cell, a basic component, perhaps not yet the intelligent symbiont, and these dark matter envelopes.
What would that look like if we could see it?
If we could perceive them, these interpenetrating layers would perfectly resemble the growing fetus, looking very much like a time-resolved plasma hologram, an ethereal, energetic twin.
Hologram twin.
Yeah. But it's crucial to understand, at this foundational stage, the true plasma-carbon endosymbiosis, the conscious, voluntary fusion with another intelligent life form, has not yet occurred. This is just the preparation.
Okay, the stage is set. The groundwork is laid with these dark matter envelopes and maybe a basic dark plasma cell. But the main event, the fusion with an intelligent dark plasma life form, happens later. How? And how do they even know we're here?
This is where the intelligent dark plasma life forms from those interpenetrating dark biospheres come in. They can't see ordinary matter directly, remember?
Right. Weak interaction.
But they can sense or perceive the dark plasma envelope around ordinary matter objects, and specifically the human plasma cell enveloping the human embryo. This dark plasma envelope acts like a beacon or a signature.
So they see the hologram twin, essentially.
That's a way to think about it. They then opportunistically absorb a human fetus in the room into its dark plasma body.
Opportunistically absorbed. That sounds quite active. How do they do it?
The mechanism described is fascinating. They use the lowest energy dark plasma envelope around the fetus as a port to latch on, an energetic entry point.
Okay.
Simultaneously, they engage in an extraordinary act of energetic synchronization. They lower and synchronize their own plasma frequencies with the specific plasma frequencies of all the relevant dark plasma envelopes around the human embryo.
Matching frequencies like tuning a radio.
Kind of, yeah. But on a much more fundamental energetic level, this frequency matching allows for a seamless connection. The result is a profound fusion.
The merger.
A fusion will then occur between the dark plasma envelope of the fetus and the dark plasma body of the higher energy dark plasma life form. This is the truly significant event.
Yeah.
A cross-sector endosymbiosis.
Ordinary matter life form the host, us with a dark matter life form the symbiont, the intelligent plasma entity.
Exactly, an act of deep biological and energetic integration.
So if this extraordinary process of cross-sector voluntary endosymbiosis is happening, how widespread is it? Does this mean that we're all hybrids? Is this a universal human condition?
According to this theory, it's far from rare. It's proposed to be the norm. The population of dark plasma life forms in these dark Earths, collectively, is conjectured to be many times larger than the entire human population today.
Many times larger. Why so many?
Due to the proposition that there are multiple large dark biospheres gravitationally coupled to our ordinary matter Earth, each potentially teeming with their own forms of life.
Okay, so a vast population of potential symbionts.
Which leads to intense competition among these plasma life forms for the opportunity to undertake this endosymbiosis with visible matter organisms like us.
Competition on their side to join with us.
That's the idea. The sheer numbers, combined with the perceived benefits for both sides, mean that this process would most likely occur for almost every member of the human species.
Almost every member. So it's not an exception, it's the rule. This fusion, this merging, it creates a new kind of being.
Precisely. The product of this endosymbiosis between the species Homo sapiens from our visible Earth and the species Plasma sapiens from the dark Earths is what J. Alford terms Homo plasma sapiens.
Homo plasma sapiens. A new identity for humanity, acknowledging this dual composite nature. We are, in effect, a new hybrid species. One foot in the visible world, one in the dark.
That's the radical proposal.
And this is described as mutualistic. Both sides benefit. What do we, the Homo sapiens hosts, gain from this? What's our incentive?
For Homo sapiens, the host, the endosymbiosis, provides a comparative reproductive advantage.
Reproductive advantage? How?
It isn't just about having more offspring simplistically. It's about a profound enhancement, making our species more successful, more adaptive. This advantage is theorized to stem directly from augmented cognitive capacities.
Augmented cognition. A boost to our intelligence.
Essentially, yes. A significant boost, potentially through quantum processes occurring in the brain, facilitated by this plasma partner. This is where it gets really interesting.
Because it suggests our intelligence isn't just our brain.
It suggests our very intelligence, our capacity for complex thought, abstract reasoning, consciousness itself, might not be solely a product of our carbon-based brains. It might be intrinsically linked to or enhanced by this symbiotic dark plasma partner.
How does boosted intelligence give a reproductive advantage?
Well, think about it. Better problem solving, advanced communication, maybe foresight, enhanced creativity, deeper understanding of the environment.
All things that help survival and thriving.
Dramatically enhance survival, adaptation, and propagation. Our ability to dominate the environment, innovate, build civilizations, might be, in part, a gift from our dark plasma partners.
It's a truly revolutionary idea about the origins of human intelligence. Okay, what about the plasma sapiens? What do they get out of this? Why bother merging with us?
The symbiont, the dark plasma life form, gains something equally profound, something it would otherwise be completely deprived of.
Experience.
The host, our ordinary matter body, provides experiences relating to different sensory modalities: sight, sound, touch, taste, smell. Essentially, it allows the dark plasma life form to experience our ordinary matter, Earth, directly.
Which they can't do on their own because they don't interact with ordinary matter strongly.
Exactly. Imagine living in a world you can only sense gravitationally, never perceive directly through senses like ours. This symbiosis offers a full, rich sensory experience of completely different reality.
So it's a win-win. We get smarter, they get to experience our world.
Given these perceived immense benefits for both parties, the author suggests that this voluntary process, initiated by the plasma life form, continues today. It's an ongoing, active evolutionary strategy.
So it's a harmonious, ongoing partnership. But biology isn't always neat. You mentioned earlier that endosymbiosis isn't always happily ever after. Are there nuances here? Is this merger permanent?
That's an extremely perceptive question, and it's a crucial point, addressed by biologists like Keeling and McCutcheon in their broader work on symbiosis. They argue endosymbiotic interactions aren't always permanent mutualism.
What else can they be?
They can often be use it up and cast it off situations, stable for variable lengths of time. They even note that endosymbiosis nearly always produces dead ends for one of the two partners in the long run.
Dead ends, meaning one partner loses out.
One partner might eventually lose its independence or even its existence. Sometimes the host is cast off, like with parasites such as Plasmodium causing malaria. It uses the host, then moves on.
Okay.
In other cases, it's the symbiont that gets cast off or becomes overly dependent, degrading over time, even if it was initially beneficial, like some bacteria, Hodgkinia, which can become mere remnants.
So these relationships can be dynamic, evolving, and maybe not forever.
Exactly. It emphasizes that while cooperation is key, the nature of these intimate relationships can change.
So how does this apply to Homo plasma sapiens? Is our fusion permanent, like mitochondria, or transient? Does one partner get cast off?
This is a unique aspect of Alfred's hypothesis. It's described as transient.
Transient, meaning temporary.
Yes. The evolutionary pathways of Homo sapiens, the host, and Plasma sapiens, the symbiont, are described as overall different, while they merge or intersect briefly in Homo plasma sapiens during the lifetime of a human.
Only during our lifetime.
That's the idea. This endosymbiosis is therefore transient, as the two species separate upon the death of the host, the ordinary matter body.
What happens to the plasma partner then?
The symbionts, the intelligent dark plasma bodies, are then said to live on for varying periods within their relevant dark Earth after our physical death, presumably continuing their own independent evolutionary journey.
So it's not a permanent genetic fusion, it's a temporary partnership.
Exactly. Despite this transient nature, the overall relationship during a human lifetime is characterized as mutualism, cooperation, not exploitation. A temporary yet profoundly beneficial shared journey through life. So building on this understanding of humans as Homo plasma sapiens, this transient but profound hybrid, we can use that specific biological term, a chimera.
Chimera, like the mythical beast.
Same word, but a scientific concept. Chimeras are life forms that are composites of body parts, or in this case, entire distinct bodies, which have different origins.
It's a real thing in biology, not just myth.
Oh, very real. Biologists create them in labs. A common example is mice engineered with human immune systems for medical research. Those mice are chimeras, a composite of cells from different species.
Okay, so how are we chimeras under this theory?
Since Homo sapiens, our ordinary matter body, and Plasma sapiens, the dark plasma life form, are presented as distinct species, their endosymbiosis, this fusion, gives rise to a plasma-carbon chimera.
So you, me, everyone listening,
Yeah.
we are chimeras, composites of ordinary matter and dark plasma life.
According to this theory, yes. You, the listener, are a chimera, a composite being of two distinct biological and material origins.
That's an incredible thought, a plasma-carbon chimera. So if we're a composite of two species, both intelligent, what does that mean for our own sense of self? Our consciousness, is it perfectly integrated?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the theory addresses it directly and provocatively. During the period of symbiosis, there are inherently power relationships at play. Keeling and McCutcheon pointed this out for symbiosis generally.
Power relationships.
Even mutually.
Even in mutually beneficial relationships, there can be dynamics of control, influence, resource allocation. But the most crucial implication here, perhaps the most mind-bending aspect, is consciousness.
Both partners are conscious.
Since both bodies, the ordinary matter primate body, our physical self, and the higher energy dark plasma body, the symbiont, are conjectured to possess consciousness, these power relationships can indeed give rise to mental conflicts.
Mental conflicts. Between who or what? Conflicts between the self associated with the ordinary matter primate body and the self associated with the higher energy dark plasma body.
Two selves, inside us, in conflict.
That's the implication. A profound duality to our conscious experience. It suggests that different aspects of our being stemming from these two distinct intelligent life forms could potentially have different drives, motivations, memories, perspectives, maybe even different goals.
So internal struggles might not just be psychological, they could be interspecies debates happening inside our heads.
That's the truly radical reimagining of the self this theory presents. It transforms our understanding of internal conflict, suggesting it might be far more complex than a single unified consciousness wrestling with itself. It could be a dialogue or sometimes a struggle between two fundamentally different conscious entities bound together. Now, this profound and, let's be clear, highly speculative theory, If it holds any water, it highlights a significant, almost astounding blind spot in our current scientific understanding.
How so?
Modern evolutionary theories in biology, as they stand today, only account for the Homo sapiens component of our existence. They focus entirely on the evolution of our physical, carbon-based bodies and brains.
Ignoring the potential plasma partner completely.
They completely ignore the hypothesized homoplasma component that this theory suggests is an integral part of nearly every human. It's like describing a car by only talking about the chassis and ignoring the engine entirely.
So it's like we're looking at half the picture and assuming it's the whole masterpiece. Our entire framework for understanding ourselves could be fundamentally incomplete.
Exactly. And interestingly, this homoplasma component, though unacknowledged by mainstream science, has often been identified historically, albeit in, antiquated and ambiguous notions like a soul or soul body in various spiritual or metaphysical traditions.
So the theory suggests those ancient concepts might have been intuitive attempts to describe something real.
It implicitly proposes that these ideas, often dismissed as unscientific, may have been intuitive grasps towards a real, albeit invisible and scientifically elusive, aspect of our being, part of our dual nature that maybe earlier cultures sensed but couldn't explain in modern terms.
And if this is true, it means a massive, unaccounted for gap in our understanding of something as fundamental as human intelligence and consciousness.
Absolutely. We talk about the evolution of the brain, the neocortex, mirror neurons, but this theory suggests there's a huge piece missing from that puzzle.
The plasma boost.
The dark plasma symbiont is theorized to provide a significant boost to the cognitive capacity of Homo sapiens through quantum interactions. This isn't presented as a minor tweak, it's a critical fundamental contribution to our intelligence.
And that contribution.
If true, it is currently unaccounted for in brain evolutionary theory. It implies that our unique cognitive abilities, complex thought, language, abstract reasoning, creativity, maybe even spiritual insight, may not solely be products of our carbon-based brains.
They could be an emergent property of this symbiosis.
An emergent property of this incredible interspecies intermatter partnership, a quantum partnership perhaps, elevating our consciousness far beyond what our physical brains alone could achieve.
This isn't just a minor oversight, then. It would demand a paradigm shift.
Across multiple fields. Think neuroscience. How does this rewrite brain function, memory, mental illness, psychology, internal conflicts as interspecies dialogue, philosophy of mind, consciousness not solely tied to the physical brain?
It calls for a completely new framework, a new way of approaching the very science of life.
It does. This deep dive into J. Alfred's work strongly suggests our current understanding of life, consciousness, and evolution is far from complete. It needs radical expansion.
Looking beyond the visible.
Extending ecology itself to parallel environments, recognizing that life on the visible Earth is intricately linked to invisible life in the parallel higher energy Earth. It paints a picture of a universe far more interconnected, far more alive, and frankly, far stranger than we've yet dared to imagine.
It challenges us to question our assumptions about what constitutes life and consciousness, and to consider that our identity is woven from threads we cannot perceive. #tag outro. We've just taken a truly fascinating deep dive into the extraordinary concept of humans as Homo plasma sapiens. We've explored how endosymbiosis might extend far beyond the cellular level, reaching across different types of matter to involve intelligent life forms from theorized dark sectors.
We've seen how cooperation isn't just a minor player, but maybe a fundamental driver of evolution, leading from Darwin's tree to the more complex Darwin-Margulis's net of life.
We've grappled with the idea of plasma as a substrate for life, and how the limitations of ordinary plasma on Earth lead us to consider the profound potential of dark plasma existing under very different rules.
And we've truly challenged the notion of our individual identity, considering the compelling, if speculative, hypothesis that our very being is a plasma-carbon chimera, a composite of two distinct species.
A chimera whose augmented cognitive capacities, our very intelligence, might be a direct benefit of this unique symbiosis.
A relationship described as transient, lasting only for the duration of our physical lives, yet profoundly impactful, shaping who we are and what we can achieve.
So here's the final provocative thought. If our cognitive capacities, our very consciousness, are augmented by a symbiotic dark plasma partner, and if this relationship is indeed transient, separating upon the death of our physical body, what does that truly imply? What does that imply about our individual identity, our memories, the continuity of consciousness, and even our potential destiny beyond the death of the physical body?
It certainly makes you wonder about the true depth of our deep dive into self, doesn't it?
The implications of this theory are immense, inviting you to reconsider everything you thought you knew about life, consciousness, and your place in this strange and interconnected universe.